great. I'm pretty proud of it. Welcome back to my channel. If you're new, I'm Leandra the TBR0, and I'm about to start TBRathon February Weekend, a 24-hour readathon that is connected to TBRathon, the readathon that I host that used to be only January. Now there is a year-long challenge, and for me, I'm participating in Map of Stories. Every single month, I'm hanging out in one of the 12 locations, and this weekend, because it's February, I'm going to be hanging out in Maple Tree Township, the location that was inspired by the romance genre. There are 3 different prompts I could try to fill over the weekend. If you fill 1, you get the rose badge. If you fill all 3, you get the silver badge. And if you happen to fill all 3 while reading a romance, then you get gold. And it could be through 1 book, 3 books, 4 books. If you end up reading 1 for each prompt and then a romance, sure, that works for me. But I'm trying to be realistic, and so I really only have 1 guaranteed read for this weekend vlog. Anything else is going to be a bonus read, and I am going to be locking in the silver badge for Maple Tree Township. I'm pretty proud of myself because when I set up my February TBR, I honestly was 100% certain that I was only going to get rose, which is fine. You don't always have to get gold. You don't always have to get silver, but I'm pretty pleased that this gem of a read just came to me literally last night. Looking at the 3 prompts within this location, we have LGBTQIA plus author, exactly 2 people on the cover, and then a booktuber recommendation. And as I said, I have a book that fits all 3 of these. It is Strange Practice by Vivan. It isn't a romance, as the cover suggests, but it does seem like a really fun time, and my February has started off a little rocky. I've DNF'd a couple books, and I just haven't found anything that I'm gravitating towards, even though a handful of the reads that I'm in the middle of, I am enjoying. I just don't feel enamored by them. But I'm hoping that Strange Practice changes things up, because this is a horror mystery of sorts. We are following Greta Van Helsing, and it seems as though there is a modern day Ripper about who's also targeting vampires. I don't know anything else, but I'm very excited to get into this title, and that's going to be the main focus this entire weekend. I'm also just hoping to relax this weekend. Obviously, I have some TBRathon sprints planned, 1 on Saturday, 1 on Sunday. I also have a live show for the Manor. Only Christy and the book club is going to be discussing the murder at the vicarage, so I've got to do some prep work for that. But other than that, maybe I can go for a walk outside. We are in a cold weather warning, and there's supposed to be a windstorm tomorrow, so that might screw things up. And then I'm still quite obsessed with crocheting, so I'll definitely be partaking in that too. But without further ado, let me unwind, maybe change into more cozy clothing because I'm still dressed for work, and I can jump into Strange Practice. Oh, I totally forgot. The booktuber recommendation comes from Danny Dabbles, one of my good friends here on BookTube. Obviously, she was going to be one of the people that I highlighted across these 12 months, and I'm really excited that it's this one. Also, this is going to count for Horror Bingo, which is hosted by Wicked Reading, Sarah. Definitely still time to do it if you want to join us. I'll have all the information linked below. Okay, I'll update you all in a few hours, see how far I get. Good morning. It is Saturday. In a few minutes, I have to start sprints, so this is going to be a very quick update. Last night, as planned, I picked up Strange Practice, and I'm nearly a third of the way through the book already. I'm really enjoying it. I've been talking to Danny about it, and we're already discussing the possibility of reading book 2 together because I am just having such a good time. I really enjoy the various characters we're getting. I feel as though they are 3-dimensional, and it's eerie. there are some dark things going on in this book, and I love it. There's a balance between the mystery aspect and the horror elements. Greta Helsing and her friends being attacked from all sides. Not to mention there's a modern day Ripper, which I think I did mention in my introduction, and I'm gripped. I am so interested in this world, in the different types of vampires that exist. We also have witches, which I imagine will either be explored more throughout this book or later on in the series. We have a man who may or may not be a vampire, but he's been in his 50s for hundreds of years. And it seems as though there are people with glowing blue eyes that are always watching our cast of characters. I'm really excited to keep going, and I actually have a really good balance set. I'm going to continue to read Strange Practice today in honor of Maple Tree Township. I know it's not a romance. I keep thinking about that, and I'm like, well, it is what it is. We all know I don't really read romance very often, so I'm very happy with my choice, though. I needed this choice because I've been having some duds lately, and I'm balancing it with a far more serious read. We have Vigil by George Saunders. I've been reading it slowly for the past week, and I'm now nearly halfway, and it's an ebook, so I probably will be balancing it out. I didn't mention this. I do have the audiobook for Strange Practice. I also borrowed the ebook from the library, but the audio is quite well done in my opinion. I like the voices. I am just entertained by the audiobooks. I don't feel like I need the ebook. And so when I need a physical read today, I'll probably be reading Vigil, and then I'll be switching to Strange Practice when I need an audio, especially because I did end up getting some extra yarn today. Ignore my jeans. I'm switching things out for like winter and spring. I know it's quite early for me to do that because it is freezing today. We have a cold weather warning as well as a windstorm warning, which I think I also mentioned in the introduction. I am just repeating myself. It's fine. But yeah, I've got my stream set up. In the next couple minutes, we're going to go live. We're going to be productive, and hopefully I will either finish Vigil in the next update, or I'll make significant I'll make significant progress in Strange Practice so I can let you all know what I'm, how I'm doing. Okay, that's it. Hopefully I'm able to be a bit more eloquent when I actually go live. But yeah, I'll update you all once I have more to say. One event down, one to go. Now I have about a half an hour. I'm going to be preparing for our live discussion of Murder at the Vicarage. I've made a graphic that has all of the characters in this detective fiction novel, and it's a lot. Like, you don't really think about it. If anyone's read this book, try to name all of the different characters in that title. It is kind of insane, and it makes sense why Christie has said, I think she said it in either her autobiography or in an interview, that one of her own criticisms for the book is just there were too many characters. I love them all, but it's a lot. So I put a graphic on screen so we all can see them. So we're not just flipping through our book trying to figure out who the heck we're talking about. But sprints went well. Everyone was super invested in being productive. We were having some good chats though. I think that's my favorite thing. Obviously part of sprints is you coming back, confirming that you did stuff. So those comments are lovely to see because it motivates me as well. But my favorite parts of sprints are when we truly take a break from reading during the chat and just talk about a bunch of stuff. We talked about my crocheting progress, other people's, different projects that they're working on, how cold it was, the temperature, where we were in the world. That's also one of my favorite things. We ended up getting all of the Nordic countries represented today, which was really fun. And we also ended up managing to give people quite a few cozy sci-fi recommendations because someone mentioned that they were reading Automatic Noodle, which is a really fun novella, and someone else said, cozy sci-fi exists? And of course, I'm like, yes, it does. Please allow me to give you recommendations. Do you have a pen and paper handy? So it just was a really lovely time. And I made progress. I did read. I ended up getting 50% of the way through Strange Practice. I'm really appreciating it. It's very intense. There's a lot of stuff going on. There's some dark elements involved, dealing with like some type of religious cult. These monks are the ones that are like harassing the city, killing people, attacking supernatural entities. But we're also getting quiet moments of humanity when Greta is at her clinic and she is helping a mummy with a certain injury, and then also helping a ghoul with his depression. It was just so human, and I really appreciate the modernization of these supernatural creatures, that they still have flaws, issues, struggles that humans have, even though they are other. So yeah, I'm really impressed with it. After the first 2 sprints, I did use the third to make progress in Vigil by George Saunders, and I want to say I'm just over halfway for that too. I thought I was halfway, but apparently I wasn't, and now I'm about 55% of the way through that ebook. And he writes as the absurdist playwrights do, in my opinion. I've read a couple of the short story collections by George Saunders. I'll have them on the screen. I can't remember what they're called. His greatest work, in my opinion, is actually Lincoln in the Bardo, this historical fiction, fantasy. It's just so well done. It's beautiful. It made me cry. I've heard the audiobook is hard to read. I ended up reading it as a physical copy, and it is written in play format, so I think that's why it doesn't translate to audio in the best way. So I can't recommend it enough, but he does remind me of playwrights like Edward Albee, Samuel West, and others, just because of the way he approaches a discussion. It's quite comical and odd, but darkly humorous at the same time. And Vigil is one that sometimes feels a little bit too close to home. The discussions of the climate crisis, climate change, how the most powerful people, the richest people in the world, are doing nothing. And if they are doing something, a lot of times they're making money off of worsening the planet situation. And I think it's interesting that we have this angel of sorts, someone who has passed on but hasn't made her own progress into the afterlife. Instead, she stayed behind, helping to comfort the souls of those who, are about to die. And she's dealing with this man who is a billionaire and who worked diligently for the petrol, gasoline companies. And now he has to pay the piper. He has to realize the sins he's committed. It's kind of interesting. As someone who's not religious, I guess I deem myself an agnostic or atheist. I don't really think about religion at all. I find it very interesting. It's hard to read at times, but it's also quite light. There's humor in it. And so far I'm having a lovely weekend. I'm having such a good time. And today, like I said, I've got the live discussion. After that, I'm just going to be unwinding. I'm going to try my marinated eggs, which you all should have seen during my B-roll. We'll see if that's a good recipe. There's a lot out there. It's the first time I've ever made it. Probably will put it on rice or noodles or something like that. And then we'll see what else I get done today. I would love to finish Vigil. We'll see if that happens, because I do want to pick up In the Shadow of the Fall tomorrow for that sprinting session. And that is a book by Tobi Ogundiran, I think is his name. And I'm really interested in that duology. It's fantasy, so it kind of switches things up with what I've been reading this weekend. Not really, because I guess I'm reading Strange Practice, but I'm deeming it more horror mystery than I am fantasy. And with Vigil, there are fantastical elements, but I'm deeming it more literary fiction. Categories, like, you really can't win with them. So let me continue to prep. I will chat with you either in a few hours, tomorrow. We'll see when I feel like I've got more to say. In the meantime, enjoy some more B-roll, whatever I get up to. Good morning. It is Sunday. In about an hour and a half, I will have my second session for TBRathon's February weekend event. I'm very excited, especially because I've been so productive this weekend while also having a crazy amount of downtime. I don't know. I'm going to have to take notes because I don't know how I've gotten so much done while also allowing myself to kind of veg out, do some mindless watching of things, play some games, crochet. I feel as though I've just been able to hang out while also having some good food. Last night I made myself that rice dish and I ended up having some broccoli, sweet potatoes, and my marinated eggs. I enjoyed them, but I realized I was so hungry that as I was eating them, I didn't even think about the flavor. It all tasted good. But what I want to do, because I'm trying out this recipe, the next time I eat them, because I have a few more, because I made a batch, I want to try out figuring out the umami of it. Do I like the sweetness? Do I need more heat? I just was not thinking about that. And so while it was really good, I feel as though I missed the opportunity to figure out how I could adjust for next time, because I definitely want to make this again. But I was kind of just throwing things in and crossing my fingers. So that is something I want to keep in mind. I definitely need to get some actual chilies because most of the recipes said to have that and I just didn't have it in the house. And so I didn't use it. I ended up using some like chili crunch, that one spread, but it obviously isn't fully the same. And maybe I didn't use enough of it because I would like a little bit of heat. That'd be kind of nice. But anyway, so after I made myself dinner and, tested out that marinated egg recipe, I ended up relaxing for the rest of the night. I read Vigil by George Saunders and I finished it. It took me way longer than expected because I kept taking breaks. I ended up watching a Drawfee live stream from a year ago because I only kind of discovered them in the last year thanks to my friend Danny, and now I've just been, watching their backlist of stuff. But I was doing that while I was crocheting, and then I finally, around 10 p.m. last night, finished Vigil, and I'll say I'm a little bit disappointed by the end. It was a thought-provoking piece. It's quite short. I think the audio, if I was looking at it correctly, was like 5-6 hours. I decided to just go ebook, but I did see one review say that the audio has a full cast, which would work perfectly for those who are interested in that experience. But I'm so torn because there was so much good social commentary on the climate crisis, on the political climate that we're currently dealing with globally, but especially here in the United States right now, and how there's so much false information. People are withholding studies or they're using certain results to tweak just so that it actually fits their own narrative. And some of the dialogue was really hard to read because it was so realistic, because there are people out there who think this way, who believe that they can do no wrong, even though they're clearly spewing hate and harmful rhetoric. It's really impressive, but it was a hard read. I would say that the same people who didn't really vibe with Lincoln in the Bardo, they're gonna have a hard time with Vigil because it's also set in the same world with the same rules when it comes to ghosts, crossing over to the afterlife, one's memories bleeding into their reality and them trying to understand who they are and being disconnected from the person they were before they died, and the religious aspect. There is quite a bit of religion in here only because we are dealing with a ghost whose goal is to help people feel comforted before they cross over, so in their final times of death. And that wasn't something that was really covered in Lincoln in the Bardo, so it has been expanded, this version of reality, but I just don't think it was as strong as Lincoln in the Bardo, unfortunately. Maybe it's just that I liked Lincoln in the Bardo so much. That was a 5-star read from me. And this one, because it's also set in modern times, maybe that didn't work because they're also completely different. Lincoln in the Bardo takes place during the time that Lincoln's son died. So we're talking like the 1860s, and now this new version is set in modern times. So maybe that's where the disconnect was. And I actually, while reading, I didn't even think about it being connected to Lincoln in the Bardo until I saw people talking about it online when I was looking at reviews and realized, oh my gosh, you're not wrong. For some reason, I didn't make that connection. Maybe it's because I've read more of George Saunders' work, a lot of his short stories, and I just know he writes weird stuff all the time, whether it's sci-fi or fantasy. So I just kind of chalked it up to being a part of his canon, but yeah, it makes sense that it is linked to Lincoln in the Bardo in a different way. But I think at the end of the day, I just wanted more meaningful discussions at the end. It felt as though we took a fatalist turn, and I just don't need that right now. This idea of passive acceptance, that it is what it is. People haven't decided to be who they are. They just kind of are who they are. And so the bad things they've done, they've just done it, and there's nothing we can do. I wanted a little bit more justice, a little bit more hope. And not to say this doesn't end positively as far as there being a good message. It's just there was so much fatalism that really upset me, especially when we know that, you know, the earth is warming, that weather storms are getting ever worse, whether it's for cold weather or for warm weather. People are losing their homes. Water levels are rising. There's so much that we have to be worried about. And so to take a fatalist view on it, I don't know. Even if it's not realistic, I'm not saying that George Saunders is trying to encourage us to be like, it is what it is. I do think that there is some realism in what he's saying, but I just didn't want to be depressed. And so while this is a fascinating read and I'm glad I read it, it's definitely not near one of my favorites by George Saunders. So yeah, this one ended up being about a 3-star range book. I can definitely see a lot of people liking it, especially those who like literary fiction, experimental fiction with leanings towards, you know, ghosts, paranormal activity. I think that they'll appreciate it, especially if you like Saunders' humor. You'll have a good time with it. And then I ended my night with a little bit more of Strange Practice. I've been listening to Strange Practice this morning too, and I think I only have about 2 hours left according to the audiobook. So I'm about 80% in, and I am loving it. It's so fun. I really needed this type of read right now because I just needed something I could binge, and this is a very bingeable read for me. We're right in the thick of the action. We're starting to work our way towards the climax, and then obviously we'll have the resolution. So characters are split up. They're all trying to complete their tasks in time to save each other, to save themselves, and it's all very intense. But I do like this cast of characters. Greta has a really great found family. I can see this group growing and becoming more of a family with every passing book because this is a series. Because Greta has been, you know, friends with Lord Ruthven for many years. He was friends with her father. We also have Fasta Kalen, who is something even more supernatural because Ruthven is a vampire. And then we also have Varney, who's just been added to the mix. So he is a new addition to this working group. And he isn't really used to being a team player. He's kind of been a loner, and he's attracted to Greta in unusual ways. He doesn't really understand her. Why is a human helping us? And obviously there's a little bit of a romance going on. Both of them are kind of like the will we, won't we situation. So I'm imagining in further books they'll investigate that. But yeah, I'm really intrigued. The things that I think are a little bit more intense for me than I'm kind of, what's weird is I feel like I'm reading like this weekend unintentionally quite like religious leaning books, because I think I mentioned in another update that with Strange Practice, there are people dressed as monks running about spewing scripture. Obviously, it's quite altered for their own means because they're doing terrible things. They're killing people in the name of God and, you know, trying to rid the earth and purify it of these, you know, beings that are non-human. It's wild, especially hearing them speak. You're just thinking, you are not in touch with reality, my friend. It's really scary. So it's crazy that and they're very different. Like, I'm not saying that that's like, Vigil is a far softer interpretation of religion, and it's more of a discussion of how some people are misunderstanding it. And then the Strange Practice is like, these people have really been manipulated, not by religious figures, but by something else, using the words of religion to like make its own, you know, successful plans come to fruition. So it's really interesting that this is a theme in today's and yesterday's reading, especially because I finished Vigil. My plan is to also pick up In the Shadow of the Fall, and I believe that mentions a religious war, but it's fantasy, so it might be completely different from this suggestion of Christianity, Catholicism. But yeah, I'm really intrigued by Strange Practice. I'm excited. It's feeling 4-star range, which is lovely. And I've already talked to Danny about possibly buddy reading further into the series because she's only read book 1 as well. So I'm feeling great. This has been a really lovely weekend. I've gotten a lot of stuff done that I wanted to in reading anyways, but what I need to do now is continue reading Strange Practice. I'm at the stage of my blanket that I've made all the granny squares. They're all done. I just need to connect them. And so that might be something you see me start to do throughout today before I wrap up this vlog. But I'm hoping to finish Strange Practice, and we're going to cross our fingers, start and finish In the Shadow of the Fall while on sprints, because it's only like a 4-hour audiobook. I've got the ebook and the audio. So I'm going to immersively read this. I'm giving you the trifecta. I e-read Vigil, so I physically read that. I'm listening to Strange Practice, and then I'm going to end with an immersive practice. What am I saying? I'm going to end with an immersion experience with ebook and audio. Like, honestly, that's so cool. Okay, I'm going to go off because this has been a lot longer of an update than I intended, but I really wanted to take the time to sit down and talk to you guys because I feel like my updates previously have been really short and kind of on a bit of a time crunch, but I'm excited. So I'm going to get to reading, and I'll talk to you guys when I have more of an update. I swear it just seems as though I'm moving about my apartment from one comfy space to another, which is actually pretty accurate because it's been so cold. I haven't really been able to leave my house, but you know what? It is what it is. This is an ultimate cozy weekend for TBRathon. Wouldn't want to have it any other way. In fact, I have finished a second book during this vlog, Strange Practice, 4-star range read. I'm kind of leaning towards maybe a 4.25. It is so fun. If you like a ragtag Scooby Gang type of setup and they're facing a new kind of evil with each book, that's how it feels right now. It actually was giving me Charmed vibes. I could see this being a TV series where each episode they're facing a different baddie, and at the end they succeed because good over evil always ends up being, you know, the thing we hope happens at the end. But I really liked it. I'm excited to continue. This feels as though it's going to be a solid series with each book. I know what I'm getting into. I know that it's going to be probably 4 stars, and that's exactly what I want. I also don't think I mentioned this, but I realized before I even started the book that Vivian Shaw is married to Arcady Martine, a powerhouse couple. I need to try a book by Martine. I keep meaning to do it. I feel as though there's like, is it called Empire of Memory? An Empire Called Memory? Something like that. A Memory Called Empire? I totally recommend Vivian Shaw. Definitely recommend Strange Practice, the Dr. Greta Helsing series, if you're in the market for a paranormal / supernatural adventure story. And actually, while I was finishing that book during the first sprint, in fact, I've got the sprints on just behind you. If you want to take a peek, you won't see them because obviously that's not how reality works. But while I was doing that, I made some significant progress in my blanket project. Let me see if I can hold this up. Not all of it is connected, but it's connected enough to see what it looks like. Look at that. What do you think? I'm pretty proud of it. I'm really happy. It probably looks a little bit amateurish for those who know how to crochet, but I'm really pleased, and there's going to be 9 of these larger squares to make up the blanket. I just need to slowly but surely sew them all together, and I've set it down for now because I'm determined to finish a 3rd book during this weekend vlog. I know, it's kind of wild, but 2 of these books kind of lean more as novellas, and the other one I only had on audio, so it's just, there's a reason why I'm able to do this. Not everyone is able to do it. In fact, most weekends, I couldn't expect myself to read 3 books. I don't think I would want to, but because it's TBRathon weekend, I'm really just going ham. But I did in fact start In the Shadow of the Fall by Tobi Ogundiran. I'm gonna have to keep practicing his last name. I know he's a Nigerian author who's currently based in Georgia, or at least the southern United States. I'm obsessed. I'm really enjoying this. I'm only 2 chapters in, and I'm about to start an interlude. I love when books have interludes. What's that all about? Usually it's a changing of a perspective and adds a bit more context to the world and the storyline for our hero, who is Ashaka. She reminds me of the protagonist in Audition for the Fox, because like that protagonist, she sees herself as being rejected, abandoned by the gods, and she has been an acolyte for many years, for 5 seasons, and that's unheard of. All of her friends, her juniors, have followed their path, been accepted by the Orisha, and joined the priesthood. And now Ashaka is like, what did I do wrong? What is wrong with me? And so at the beginning of this book, she decides to go off into the night, into the sacred grove, and request a meeting with one of the Orisha, specifically Eshu, who is the Lord of Roads and Crossroads. She was hoping to not just summon this god, but also bind them to her. And it seems as though the ritual went awry. The tree, her created idol, ended up bursting into flames. She had to flee, fell down a cliff, and now she has to face the consequences. People are discussing the possibility of banishing her, which is also a really big step for them to do, for the priesthood to do. And we just wrapped up with her having a meeting with the high priestess. I'm hoping we get more of the high priestess. She seems like she'll be a very interesting, wise character and a bit of a contrast to Ashaka. Her name is Ialau, and I think that's a beautiful name as well. I'm really excited. I really enjoy the audiobook too. As I said, I'm immersively reading it. I wasn't sure if I would enjoy that process, because sometimes immersion isn't the way to go, but I'm really excited. I really want to keep going. I'm so invested, especially because, like I said, it reminds me of Audition for the Fox, and that was a 5-star read, one of my last 5 stars of 2026, and one of my best books. 2026. What year is it? It was one of my best books in 2025 and one of my last 5 stars of 2025. And so it's really fun to see the parallels, even though it's obviously very different, and we are going into certain mythology, African mythology, that I'm not as aware of. So I really love learning about that too. So yeah, anywho, I'm gonna head off because I've got about 15 more minutes on the clock before I'm live again, checking in on everyone else, how they're doing during the sprint. But man, I think we have another winner, and I'm really excited that this is going to be the book we leave off with at the end of the vlog, because I think it's going to be my favorite of the 3. We're just going to have to see what happens. As the sun sets behind you, I am wrapping up this vlog with a 5-star read. I went for a little bit longer than planned, 5 hours on the second session of our TBRathon sprinting event, and it was so worth it. I really wanted to finish the book while on sprints so I could tell everyone, go read it. It's amazing. And I'm just so pleased that I ended up picking this up kind of on a whim. It was a very spontaneous read. It wasn't on my February TBR, and I'm already excited to jump into book 2, which I did discover came out in January 2025. So I am late to the game, but I'm really, really excited to continue to investigate this author, try more by him, because I was just enamored. The writing is clipped, it's very quick, but it's still lush. We ended up having like an origin story. We had these creepy skinwalkers that were really unsettling, this clashing of 2 sides, a war that has spanned hundreds of years, and all of it was just really well crafted in such a short amount of time. I'm so impressed by Tobi Ogundiran. I definitely want to keep an eye on this author's future projects and maybe try out his backlist too. And I'm invested in Ashaka. She's just been through so much in this short book, and I can only imagine what she's going to go through in the second, especially because Ogundiran, he went there. He definitely went there. I was shocked. If you ever go back and replay those sprints, you'll see me going, so many times because it was really action-packed, which is to be expected with a shorter novel as well. The world building was excellent. I want to know more about the Orisha and the various gods that exist. It's really wonderful. So yeah, highly recommend. Definitely want to investigate more African fantasy after this as well. And what a way to end the vlog. With each book, I feel as though my experience got better, which is exactly what you want in a vlog. Vigil was thought-provoking, 3.25. Then I followed it up with Strange Practice by Vivan, and that is probably a 4.25. I think I've settled 4.25. Can't wait to continue that series. Pardon the interruption, but I failed to mention that Strange Practice also counted for horror bingo. I don't think I ever noted which square I was counting it for, but that was for the vampire square, and I'm doing hard mode the best I can, and for this particular prompt, it had to be vampires in a modern setting. Strange Practice counts for that. It's modern day London. Perfect. And yeah, that's it. Very exciting times. I'm slowly but surely making my way towards a bingo. We'll see how I go for the rest of the year. And now, with In the Shadow of the Fall, a 5-star read. Yeah, I'm so excited. I'm going to celebrate with my dinner that's in the oven, just basically leftovers from the meal that I already showed you all yesterday. And I may also celebrate by finishing this original, square of 9 granny squares. That would be very fun too. It's gonna be big. I'm really excited about this too. I hope you all found this vlog pretty cozy, comfy, cheering me on as I not only earn my February badge, but I'm also getting the silver badge for Maple Tree Township with Strange Practice. I'm really excited about that. And I've got 2 new authors on my belt, Vivan and Tobi Ogundiran, 2 authors that I didn't even know much about before I started. Now I just want to read more by them. So that's really exciting, finding out these new to me authors. And I also am really looking forward to March's weekend event. So because February is exactly 4 weeks of Sunday through Saturday, it ends up shaping up to have the exact same dates for the March weekend event. So we'll probably be having sprints over the 7th and 8th of March if you guys want to join us to get this March badge. While we're hanging out that weekend, my plan is to move to my 3rd location, which is going to be Whispering Well, and I don't know what I'm going to read. If you've got recommendations for that middle grade location, I'll have what are they called? The prompts that I created on the screen as well. Let me see here. I'm pretty sure there's child protagonist, child on the cover. So if you can provide me recommendations with just those 2, they don't have to be middle grade books. They can be adult, YA, whatever you want. Whatever you think I really enjoy, I'd love to see that in the comments. But yeah, I'm really excited. And also if you have African fantasy to recommend me too. I got some recommendations in the comments during the sprints, which I'm so grateful for. But of course, more the merrier. Thank you all so much for hanging out with me this weekend by proxy if you weren't there in person during the sprints. I really do appreciate you, and I hope everyone's staying safe, that you're drinking a lot of water, you're eating, you're sleeping well, and of course, not more importantly, but just as important, you're reading really good books. How about in honor of In the Shadow of the Fall, show me some lightning storm emojis because of this gorgeous cover, and I'll be seeing you guys next time. Thank you all so much. Bye, everybody.